What do you say to the right-wing evangelicals that buy the Donald Trump Bibles? I mean, like, I'm not an extremely religious person. I'm not a Bible person per se. I'm also not an atheist. But with that being said, how can you vote for a man if you, this is what I don't understand. If you call yourself a Christian, how can you vote for a man who's literally making money off the Bible? Like he has these Bibles made in China, Pastor, for $3. And then in America, they're shipped to America, and he sells these Bibles with Lee Greenwood for like 60 or 70 bucks a pop. I mean, I don't understand. How could people that call themselves good Christians buy this stuff?
Well, you know, if you want a signed copy, an autographed copy, it will cost you $1,000 to get that same Bible. Not to mention the fact that Ryan Walters, who is the superintendent of school, the state superintendent of schools in Oklahoma, used over $6 million of taxpayer dollars to purchase 55,000 copies of this Lee Waters, or was it Lee Atwater? No, Lee Greenwood version of the Bible, the Donald Trump Bible. This is a tribute. This is a financial tribute showing that there are people in this country who will take money that is set aside for taxpayers and present it to Donald Trump through this Bible. Now, to the specifics of the theology and honestly, the idolatry of this, they have elevated Donald Trump to the status of Jesus. There's even a book, a conservative MAGA book, that says that Donald Trump is the Son of Man, which means that essentially they're saying that he is the second coming of Christ. If they don't know idol worship when they see it, I don't know if they've even ever attended church, to be honest with you.
I mean, I call these people crazy, Pastor. I really do. I think they're lunatics. And I'm not asking you to call them names. That's my job. But I just think these people are mentally deranged. I don't know what else to say, Pastor. But the fact that you have a man, and I use that term man very loosely, who has 5 kids with 3 different women in his life. He's never been faithful to one woman in his life. I know we're all not perfect, but he literally attacks every single person that disagrees with him. You see the way he's treated women his entire life. And a lot of people on the far right like to call Democrats sinners. Yet the guy who they voted for is one of the biggest sinners around. That's I use the term hypocrisy, right? To describe some of these people.
No, that's the best word for it. Hypocrisy. I think one of the words I was searching for last time in my last sentence was blasphemy. I mean, they sincerely prostrate themselves before Donald Trump. They don't realize, or they don't care. Now, here's the other aspect. Like, I think some of them know, and they don't care, that they have embraced a system that is honestly anti-Christ. I'm not calling Donald Trump the Antichrist. The Bible speaks of systems that operate as an Antichrist system. MAGA is that system, and you have millions of people around the country who are wearing the mark of the beast, the MAGA hat on their head, and it's evidenced by this. Nothing spiritual or super metaphysical about this. They are doing the exact opposite of what Jesus said do, of what the Bible instructs as it pertains to the least of these, as it pertains to immigrants and migrants and asylum seekers, in terms of marginalized communities. They have embraced the exact opposite of the teachings of Jesus. So of course they will embrace Donald Trump at this level as their leader that they put above and beyond Jesus Christ.
So, Pastor, when you hear other pastors, priests around the country or even around the world who say that Jesus brought us Donald Trump, and they say other things that obviously you and I disagree with, I would consider it ridiculous. Do you think they actually believe what they are saying? Do you think they're just lying? Or do you think they're brainwashed, or all of the above? Like, when you hear these people that, have dedicated their lives to preaching the gospel, somebody like yourself, and they say these kinds of things, we're not talking about everyday ordinary people, talking about pastors.
Yeah.
What do you think is in their heart? Like, do they actually believe that Jesus Christ brought us Donald Trump?
I think it really speaks to some of their limited understanding of the Bible, because there have been plenty of leaders that God brought to Israel, for example, in the Old Testament, that brought about damnation to Israel, that brought about the captivity of Israel. I mean, God brought Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar didn't work out too well for the children of Israel. And so they can say this, but they don't leave. They preclude the possibility that Donald Trump is indeed sent by God to punish America. Now, I personally pray against that idea. I don't like that idea, but if you think God has sent Donald Trump to be something good for America, if the results is something that's damning for America, then you have to also take into consideration that maybe Donald Trump is punishment.
Yeah, yeah. I would say he definitely is to a lot of people in this country for sure. So there is a right-wing evangelical on social media, and don't ask me why, but I read what he was writing. And I want to read you just a little bit of what he said, and I want to get your reaction to this, because this is a guy that's got over 1 million followers on social media.
Absolutely.
He calls himself a devout Christian. He says, the Christmas is possibly the most special one I've ever had, because 50 days ago, Jesus performed one of the biggest miracles in history. He put Donald Trump back in the White House. I say it's a miracle because Trump was almost taken from us in Butler, Pennsylvania. Jesus intervened there too. Now, as you know, a man in Pennsylvania was killed.
That's right.
Several others were shot. Am I led to believe that Jesus didn't want to interfere there with a firefighter, regardless of his political beliefs, who was killed, and he has kids and others were shot? But Jesus said, oh, wait a second. I'm going to save the life of this liable sexual abuser. Are we supposed to believe that? I don't understand. Help me understand. I don't understand.
It really speaks to the emptiness of their lives. I don't want to, strike too personally, but these are people who have no identity outside of white supremacy, outside of their ability to be greedy. Adam Sower of The Atlantic said it like this: the cruelty is the point. You really have to pause and reflect on the type of mentality these people have. And now, to that extent, of course, something like what happened in Pennsylvania would look like a miracle to their end, something that says that God has ordained Donald Trump. This is the type of mindset that they have. Do they truly believe it? I'm sure they truly believe it, right? But it goes against everything that the Bible speaks in terms of the kind of person, the fruits that you bear. I'll ask this of any of those preachers: what are the fruits that Donald Trump is bearing? They want to say that they've saved America or saved Christmas. Okay, Christmas was never under threat. What are the fruits of Donald Trump? Well, so much destruction and disaster for so many communities, except maybe for the richest amongst us. It's been a really good time for those people.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Let's talk about white supremacy for a moment, because I do talk about these issues and issues of race a lot on this show, Pastor. Why is it that the right seems to celebrate when a couple like the McCloskeys point their weapons at some Black Lives Matter protesters that were never on their property, and then all of a sudden the McCloskeys are speaking at the Republican National Convention? Why is it that a guy like Kyle Rittenhouse, who should have never been at that protest in Kenosha, 2 people die, a third is shot, and they look up to Kyle Rittenhouse as a hero? In fact, Turning Point USA pays Kyle Rittenhouse to make speeches. And why is it that a guy like Daniel Penny, who I understand was not convicted of a crime, even though I disagree with the jury's, the outcome there, why is it that Donald Trump invites Daniel Penny, who choked a black man to death — that's exactly what happened — to a football game? And the right, embraces people like that, but yet, Ahmaud Arbery's mother. Why not invite Ahmaud Arbery's mother to something? Or what about the black man who was forced to stab another man on a subway, who was verbally assaulting him and his girlfriend? Why is it that Donald Trump doesn't, invite those people? Or how about the people in New York City, the 5 people who happen to be minorities, who Donald Trump said deserve the death penalty, and then they were found innocent and they went to jail? Why doesn't he invite those people? Why is it always the Daniel Pennies, the Kyle Rittenhouses, and the McCloskeys that the far right seem to look up to?
Without a shadow of a doubt, there's one major tenet of white supremacy, and that's the ability to get away with murder. And I don't mean this political murder. I mean actual murder. It is a staple. Just look throughout American history. It is the ability for someone to eliminate a minority and to be above the law as it pertains to any kind of justice. I think that we are moving back towards a time where this type of vigilante behavior is not only approved of, but encouraged. I don't know if you saw, I dropped something in your bin down there for you to share my screen, but I don't know if you saw this image of a MAGA candidate for Congress. I can't remember her name, but this video went viral. She's mocking an execution. She's mocking a public execution. Now she's using as a proxy here any type of illegal immigrant that may hurt someone in the United States. That's her justification for this level of violence that she's promoting that has been retweeted so many times. But here's the thing. It's not just immigrants. It's Black people. It's not just Black people. It's gay people. It's the LGBTQIA community. They are calling for the execution of gay people from their pulpits. And what I'm saying is that we are in a movement, a momentum from MAGA that is pushing us towards this level of public violence. I do not put it beyond the purview of possibilities that we will see actual regimented regimes going through our neighborhoods, the Boogaloo Boys, the Proud Boys. I see these militias as having the desire and the potential and the organizing power to go through our streets again, just like they did in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921.
By the way, Trump told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by. On a debate stage, which is utterly disgusting. Pastor, how do you think it would have went down if Daniel Penny was Black and he choked out somebody who was white, maybe somebody wearing a MAGA hat that was mentally deranged that was white? Do you think Donald Trump would have invited Daniel Penny to the football game if he was Black? How do you think this would have panned out?
No, we've seen what happens when the reverse is true. We saw what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse when he killed two people from the left, two people who were standing up for civil rights. But then we also know the story of Michael Reinhold, and you have to forgive me, I'm not really good with the pronunciation of his last name, but he stood up and took the lives of two people who were a threat to his friend, who was a Black man. And what happened with Michael? Well, Michael was on the receiving end of a Donald Trump order for federal agents to come and not only take him, but to kill him. He was killed. He was killed by federal authorities underneath the command of Donald Trump because he stood up in self-defense in the direction opposite of what Kyle Rittenhouse did. So what does that mean? You can be a vigilante on one side of the equation, but if you try to be a vigilante or self-defense on the other side of the equation, you will get eliminated by this regime.